Members, that will now take us to item number 52. Item number 52 is also a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing on item, without objection, we'll open the public hearing on item number 52. The public hearing is now open, and I'll turn to the city clerk's office.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll begin with remote speakers. Kevin Koch on item 52.
Mayor, council members, my name is Kevin Cook. I speak only for myself and not on behalf of any commission, association, or body. I appreciate your taking a new tack on this very complex subject. Regarding the directives stated on the message board, the suggested directives presume a need to make it easier to relocate billboards. Please consider directing staff to first define the public need for flexibility in relocation or any ordinance change at all, and communicate that justification publicly before proposing any changes. At this point, we have questions as to how this need was identified to begin with, since the count of billboards impacted by Project Connect wasn't even yet available for Planning Commission. I appreciate the stated goal of removing billboards from residential areas and scenic areas, but consider, as we successfully create a denser and more interconnected city, there is not a good place for billboards anywhere. If the directive is to find easier ways to relocate, we need to know exactly where and why. The potential impacts of any change need to be clear and publicly communicated. I ask that the 40-year goal of ultimately eliminating billboards from the city be considered a starting point for any analysis. Please do not dismantle any part of that, including the 25-year moratorium on the one-time only relocations that are currently allowed. And I suggest staff start from an understanding of the issues around all the billboards that have already been relocated. Their 25-year terms coming up very soon. I ask that interested citizens be involved in the process, such as Scenic Austin and the Cherrywood Neighborhood Association, at least on par with business interests. Most importantly, I ask the city allow all billboards condemned by the state along I-35 to be permanently removed by the state. This is a state issue on state land. We should not be facilitating retention of any billboards condemned by the state or their relocation back onto city land. Finally, please consider billboard companies are not like housing developers, restaurants, music venues, health providers, offices, or industries offering a significant number of jobs, or retail establishments serving public needs. They offer only visual pollution and light pollution, driver distraction, and as noted earlier on the message board, they complicate housing development and lower property values, which is why we wanted them gone for decades. That should remain our ultimate goal, like our peer cities across the state. Texas is a big state with plenty of room for billboards. We don't need them in the city.
Thank you very much.
Next, speaking remotely on item 52 is Robert Schmidt.
Yes, hello. My name is Bob Schmidt. I've lived in Austin since 1986. That's 40 years. And over this time, I always thought and believed and assumed that the Austin City Council, which is a council for a progressive city, is different than that's going on in Washington, D.C. and in the Texas legislature, and that you all actually represent citizens and real people and not just moneyed special interests. Honestly, that's why I'm so disappointed that with this item 52 and Mayor Pro Tem Vela, his initiative involving billboards, only the billboards company's interests were being represented. The Mayor Pro Tem and his office met privately for months with billboard company lobbyists and no other stakeholders. The lobbyists also met privately with members of the Planning Commission. There's an article that was published in the Statesman that details some of this special interest involvement. The first proposal that was put out on this literally called for amending the code to allow billboards to be 0 feet from residential property. Only by luck did somebody from our neighborhood spot this on the Planning Commission agenda, and because we testified against it, the proposal was changed to be a little better, 150 feet, or basically a half a block from residents, instead of the 500 feet that's been in place since the 1980s. We pushed back several times now and honestly spent countless hours fighting this, and we understand it's to be indefinitely postponed, and we are truly grateful for this. If this issue comes back, we hope this time the interests of regular citizens who don't want a billboard moved in their backyard are brought into the discussion and taken account. I'm concerned that this item will somehow pop back up on the agenda, and regular people like us who don't check these agendas of Planning Commission and City Council are just going to miss it. I believe that was the hope of the billboard lobbyists and perhaps the Mayor Pro Tem when this item was first brought up. We ask that not happen this time. I thank the Mayor Pro Tem for changing course on this, and I ask you and that the city staff include and notify groups like the Cherrywood Neighborhood Association, other.
Moving to in-person speakers on item 52, Maria Rosa Morales, Betsy Greenberg, and Bill Bunch.
Bill Bunch, District 5, Executive Director, Save Our Springs Alliance. Definitely hope that you will listen to all that you've heard from the previous speakers. It all sounds really very reasonable to me. I haven't followed the details on this so far, I admit completely. But we're just inundated with commercial messages everywhere. We do not need to be accommodating billboards any more than we're required to by state law. So please take your time. If anything, go and take action to reduce billboard clutters in our city. Thank you.
That concludes all speakers on item 52.
Members, those are all the speakers on item number 52. So without objection, we will close the public hearing on item number 52. The public hearing is now closed. That will take us to the ordinance. Mayor Pro Tem, you're recognized for a motion on item number 52.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a motion that was posted on the message board a few days ago, I believe, and Councilmember Ellis made, I think, a very good suggestion, and that's reflected in my motion. I just wanted a little bit of background on this. I know it's been a long day, but 20 years ago, a little bit, maybe more than 20 years ago, actually, new billboards were banned in the 80s. The ordinance that essentially tried to push for their removal was passed about 21 years ago. There are more billboards today in the city of Austin than there were when the ordinance was originally passed. And I think that the number of billboards that have been removed, I could probably count them on both hands. So the reality is that we're not in a good status quo. A lot of billboards that were put up were in different areas. They were in different parts of the city that had different goals. I think about Manor Road. I think about the old airport, where there are so many billboards right around that area because that used to be where the airport was, and they really don't even serve much of a purpose anymore, but they linger there, and they will linger there indefinitely, kind of in the heart of the neighborhoods and in the middle of the city. The goal of the original item was relatively modest, to reduce any costs for when we have to remove a billboard because of eminent domain. I don't want to be spending money, city money, on buying out billboards when we have a road project or as Project Connect builds out. But ultimately, I think we need to look again at how we are handling billboards in Austin and take some kind of, right now we just use a stick approach, and we've kind of tried to just force them out, and that has not been successful. They are grandfathered in. They can stay where they are for decades if they want. Very few of them have been removed. So I don't consider that 2006, 2004 ordinance to have been successful. Other cities have been able to provide some kind of combination of carrots and sticks to be able to get to a better place. We have not done that, and with this direction, I want to open the door to that as a possibility. It's a very short direction, and I would move to postpone the item indefinitely and then provide direction to the city manager to go out and kind of talk to all the stakeholders and see where we can get on this very kind of tricky and difficult item. And one of the things, this is not in the motion itself, but it's kind of the elephant in the room, is digital billboards. I know a lot of people fiercely dislike digital billboards. I don't see a huge difference between a regular billboard and a digital billboard, and to the extent that there's some kind of negotiation that can happen to reduce the overall number of billboards if we allow a certain number of billboards, for example, along major highways to do so. Again, I don't know where that will take us, but I do think that it's important that we open the door to some kind of discussion and negotiation that could potentially get us to a place where we are in a win-win situation where we're pulling a lot of the billboards that are lingering in our residential neighborhoods out and leaving the ones that are more kind of along highways, again, in line with the 2006 ordinance. But unless we do something, the status quo is not going to change. And that's more than anything the point that I was trying to make. So with that, I would move passage of my direction.
Members, you have been provided a copy of item number 52, Mayor Pro Tem Vela's motion sheet 1, version 2. He moves approval of that motion. It is seconded by Councilmember Velasquez. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councilmember Duchin.
Just really a question for Mayor Pro Tem. We've been struggling with this also in terms of how to find what the right balance is, and you've heard frustration from speakers today about what that might be, and trying to think about this in a way that's perhaps more, I don't want to say sophisticated, but maybe more granular than the city was currently thinking with just a blanket 150 feet from dwellings. And even if that's the right or wrong distance, but thinking about, which side of a corridor, for instance, might a site be sign be on, and does it need different measurements based on that corridor, which side it is, right? Is there a distinction, say, between taller multifamily and single family? Is the intent behind what you've got here, the investigation, the direction to staff, to go help explore those options and come back with a better sense of what we could be voting on, whether it's height or distance or whatever the circumstances are, knowing that we need to identify some locations to prevent some other scenarios from coming to light?
I would say, in answer to your question, Councilmember Ducci, all of the above. I'm not trying to say, just this or just that. Just go see what would potentially work, what would be acceptable to the different stakeholders, again, whichever side that they're on, and see if there's a better path forward. I don't want to be prescriptive and say, list a bunch of items that they should. That's why it's very broad language to give staff the ability to go out there and take a look at it. And again, just to be frank, if there's not the desire and if no one wants to change it and we just want to stick with the status quo, so be it. But I just wanted to open that up as an opportunity. If folks can come together and we can get to a place where the stakeholders, various stakeholders are happy and we move forward, great. If not, then so be it. We'll just stick with the status quo. My concern is that I think we know what the status quo is going to be.
Actually, I don't. What is the status quo? The 150 feet proposal? What is the status quo?
No, the status quo is that the billboards are where they are and they're not going to move from where they are because there is no incentive for them to move. They're kind of really dug in and, just extending leases and just kind of really just trying to stay. Our ordinance is designed where once it moves, you can move the billboard once, and then it starts this kind of 25-year clock where purportedly at the end of the 25-year clock, the billboard is then supposed to end. I don't think that's going to happen. Just to be perfectly blunt, I think that, again, I'm speaking for myself here, not on behalf of law, I think that's a taking. And if we want to, at the end of that 25-year period, remove that billboard, we're going to have to buy that billboard. And that's just a concern. I don't think that the current status quo is going to change. I would just put it that way, and that's my concern. Is that we're just kind of no one wants to mess with it, and so we're just going to continue with everything in the same place indefinitely. And I don't think that's what anybody wants, honestly.
All right, so you're thinking more broadly than even just getting back information about the condemnation process. You're thinking about all billboards and what happens there. Am I dancing a line here?
This would be broad direction to staff to go out there and, again, see what's possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. Members, the motion has been made and seconded. It's the Mayor Pro Tem's motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, without objection, Item number 52, item number 52, as the motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Vela, is adopted with Councilmember Harper Madison being absent.